Just today, ICE says it has made 1,179 arrests. How many of those people had been convicted of crimes in the U.S.?
Look, I don't have exact numbers with me, but I'll give you an example. I was in Chicago yesterday for that operation, and everybody but I think four collateral arrests. Everybody else was a criminal. And when I walked out at the end of my shift, we already had, I think, 9 tren de agua. 2 of them actually being charged with crimes because here's an illegal alien gang member in the United States selling illegal guns in the neighborhood, and they even sold the switches, which turned the gun into fully automatic machine guns. We arrested, I think we had a total of 7 sexual predators, sexual crimes against children. We had 2 illegal aliens convicted of murder that were released by that state prison back to the streets. So everybody we arrested in Chicago yesterday was a significant public safety threat. There were several collateral arrests that happened to be there when we arrested the bad guy. So this operation right now is concentrated on public safety threats and national security threats throughout the country.
So the majority of those yesterday did have criminal records, and do you believe the majority of today's numbers have criminal records?
I won't see those numbers till midnight tonight, but again, we're focused on criminals. But I think you and I discussed before, but in sanctuary cities, you're going to see a higher number of collateral arrests. I mean, we're going to have more criminals, but there's going to be a big number, what we call collateral, because when we're forced into the neighborhood to find the bad guy, he's probably going to be with others, and we're not going to instruct ICE agents to ignore their oath, ignore the law. If they're here illegally, they're going to go to jail too, and that's why I'm imploring the sanctuary cities, let us in the jail, arrest the bad guy in the jail where the community's safe, the officer's safe, the alien's safe. You're forcing the community, you're going to get exactly what you don't want.
And
more agents in the neighborhood and more collateral arrests. When
you say collateral arrest, you mean someone who doesn't have a criminal record but is here, is an undocumented immigrant. They still get deported as well, right? You're not letting them go back to their neighborhoods or to their jobs. Is that right?
Yeah, if they're in the country illegally, they're going to get arrested too.
Now that you're officially in your position, you've been here about a week on the job. We spoke to you last before you had actually come in formally to the role. Do you have a better target number for how many people you want to deport overall?
As many as we can. My goal is, I think success is removing every criminal gang member out of this country, every public safety threat, illegal alien out of this country, every child trafficker, illegal alien out of this country. Then that aperture opens, right? We got 1.4 million illegal aliens in this country who had due process at great taxpayer expense. They were ordered removed by a federal judge and didn't leave. They became a fugitive. They're next. So we're going to keep opening that aperture and enforcing immigration law. And I'll implore those in the country illegally, those who don't have a final order, those who have not been ordered by an immigration judge. If you're in the country illegally, you should leave. Because if we have to formally deport you, you can face anywhere from a 5 to 20-year bar from ever coming back, either as a student, a visitor visa, a tourist visa, or be petitioned by a U.S. citizen child. If you're in the country illegally, you haven't been ordered deported, leave and come back the right way, because there will be other opportunities.
You're talking about going after public safety threats, national security threats first, but you just said the aperture is going to widen, meaning the scope of the people you're going to go after. How long do you anticipate before you're in that next phase where the aperture has gotten wider?
Very soon. I mean, sanctuary cities are making it very difficult to arrest the criminals. For instance, Chicago, very well educated. They've been educated how to defy ICE, how to hide from ICE. And I've seen many pamphlets from many NGOs. Here's how you escape ICE from arresting you. Here's what you need to do. They call it know your rights. I call it how to escape arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest, and they tell you how to hide from ICE. No, don't open your door. Don't answer questions. Okay, you can call it know your rights all you want, but there's an order for their removal. They've been ordered removed by a federal judge after due process at great taxpayer expense. They need to go. But if we got to play that cat and mouse game, that's what we're going to do till every one of them gone.
In terms of how you're messaging this, obviously you've been speaking publicly. We know that officials were told to be ready to be in front of the cameras. Agents were, that they could be around when these arrests were happening. We saw Dr. Phil was along and embedded with one of your teams. How much thought are you putting into making this kind of a made-for-TV moment in order to publicly message or whatever your strategic goal is here?
Well, look, we got Kristi Noem, which is, she got her vote this weekend. You're going to see a lot more from Secretary of DHS. She'll be out here talking much more. We've the new CBP commissioner who's being nominated, Rodney Scott. He will empower the chief patrol agents to talk. So we want all the frontline managers to talk throughout the country. But the message I'm sending is that we're going to force immigration laws in this country. If people don't like it, then they need to change the law, because ICE isn't making this up. We're enforcing laws enacted by Congress and signed by a president, but we're doing it in a smart way. The Trump administration in the beginning says we're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats are out of the gate. The worst first, and that's what we're doing. But like I say, as we go on, we're not going to say it's okay for 1.4 million illegal aliens to ignore a judge's order to deport. So they're going to be next. And we're going to keep opening that aperture up. So we're sending a message. It's not okay to be in this country legally. It's not okay to enter this country legally. It's a crime, and there's going to be consequences.
Do you have a number of how many people you'd like to have deported by this time next year?
I don't have a number. As many as we can arrest and deport.
Okay, but no firm number.
We're going to force the law. If they're here in the country legally, they got a problem, and they're not off the table.
Yeah, but on numbers, you have been clear that your success here in this effort will depend on how much money you can get from Congress. Now that you're in this role, do you know how much money, what kind of budget you would need to deport the people that you say are public safety threats, national security threats, and also the 1.2 million that you just referenced there who've gotten orders from a judge?
1.4 million. And yes, look, we need more than 100,000 beds. Right now, we got about 34,000 beds. We'll fill them up in a week. So we need at least 100,000 beds. We need more international air flights. We need more ground transportation. We need more money to hire more officers and Border Patrol agents. And that's why we're bringing right now, the whole of government is coming in, right? In the Chicago operation and every operation throughout the country now. We got DEA, we got FBI, we got U.S. Marshals, we got ATF, we got HSI, we got ERO. So right now we're bringing the whole of government into this so we can create more teams and arrest more people. So this dynamic is constantly changing. And depending on the city, is it a sanctuary city or not a sanctuary city?
Yeah, you're using them as like a force multiplier, but when it goes to the real money that you'll need from Congress to get more beds and to hire more agents, if Congress is not reliable, as I'm sure you are well aware in terms of what they can get passed. I know they believe this is a big part of Trump's agenda, but if you don't get what you need from Congress, can you achieve what you're trying to achieve here?
We're going to do everything we can with what we have, and we're going to arrest as many as we can. However, you're right. We can be more successful if we have more money, if we can buy more beds. Because every time we arrest an illegal alien, we just don't deport them that day. We have to detain them for a few days or a few weeks to get travel documents, get landing rights in their home country. So the more money we have, the more we can do.
Mr. Homan, I've got a few more questions for you. If you'll stick around for a few minutes with us, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Mr. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, after a short commercial break. And we're back with President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, whose name came up at the confirmation hearing for the newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem.
I guess I'm uncertain about roles and responsibilities regarding your position and Tom Homan's. How are you going to work with Mr. Homan? What is the division there? I'm trying to get a better sense of who's in charge.
Yeah, Tom Homan is an incredible human being who has over 30 years of experience.
Incredible experience.
Yeah,
I get
at
that.
The border,
I'm just trying to think through
the insight and wisdom.
Decision-making process when it comes to your work. For instance, will he be giving orders directly to CBP, ICE, USCIS?
Tom Homan has a direct line to the president. He is an advisor to the president, the border czar. I obviously will be, if nominated and confirmed, and put into the position of being the Department of Homeland Security Secretary and responsible for the authorities that we have and the actions that we take.
Mr. Homan is back with me. And who is the person who will be issuing those orders, to the senator's question there, to ICE agents, to Border Patrol? Is that your purview here, or is that Secretary Noem's purview?
Secretary Noem has the authority over Border Patrol and ICE. That's in statute. But as the senior advisor to the president, I'm writing strategic vision, operational plans, and coming up with a strategy to secure the border and to run this deportation operation and to find over 300,000 missing children. And me and Secretary Noem will work very close on those plans and to implement them and do what the president wants us to do. So me and Kristi Noem will be shoulder to shoulder every day. We talk every day, so we're working together to achieve the president's goals.
How often are you talking to the president himself about this?
Several times a week.
And on one of the things that we've been seeing is you're publicly talking about this first week. You know, I saw the numbers that ICE put out tonight that we started asking you about. We also saw this video last week of something you told me was going to happen using military flights. This is a C-17. It's flying about 80 people back to Guatemala. The flight cost from El Paso for that is about 252,000 numbers based on an estimate we got from the government today. Do you think that's a better use of taxpayer money than a chartered flight, which would cost closer to, I believe, $9,000?
Well, it's a force multiplier. We got a lot of planes flying every day across, mostly to Central America and South America. So they're adding a resource to us. So again, the cost of this operation is expensive. It's expensive to enforce the laws and protect our national security, but I don't put a price tag on securing that border. Once we secure the border, we show consequences. The number's already down. We had like 500 crossings in one day. Compare that to 10 to 12,000 a day under Biden.
Right, but why is it better to
that's
use
one of
a
the lowest I've seen in my
military
34-year career.
But why is it better to use a military plane that costs so much more than just a chartered plane, which is what was happening before?
Charter planes are still running at full capacity. This is just an added thing, and they can put a lot more people on a plane rather than they can make a long distance, such as going to Colombia. We'll use them for European removal. So it makes sense to fill that plane up with a lot of people and get them moving. Again, it's an added asset because our air contracts now are full, 100% capacity. So as we add more flights, I'm sure we'll add more charter flights. But right now, DOD is working with us on the border, building infrastructure, obedience and denial. They're down there putting razor wire up, and they're flying planes.
Okay.
They're also going to probably do some ground transportation. We're going to use DOD.
And I should note that we are told that the Department of Homeland Security will not be reimbursing the Pentagon for these flights. That sometimes is the case, but we were told today that that's not the case. On what you said earlier about your big priority right now is deporting public safety threats and national security threats. How does changing the ICE policy that allows agents to conduct arrest and enforcement at churches and schools help with that?
There's no safe haven for public safety threats and national security threats. People say, well, were you really going to a high school? Well, people need to look at the MS-13 members and Tren Agua members who entered this country, a majority between the ages of 15 and 17. Many are attending our schools, and they're selling drugs in the schools, and they're doing strong arm robberies of other students. So we not go into schools or hospitals as a matter of practice, but if it's a significant public safety threat or a significant homeland security threat, there's no safe haven. We'll go where we need to go to take them off the street.
But you obviously are someone, you've been working on the border for years, sir. I mean, you got an award from President Obama, for people who don't know watching, and you also, have worked through these administrations. This was the policy that's been in place, I believe, since 2011, and it wasn't changed before. I mean, do you have any reason to believe that elementary schools or churches are harboring, these violent immigrants who are here illegally?
Like I said, when the circumstances arise, we got a national security threat, a significant public safety threat, we're going to go where we got to go, whether it's a school, a church, or a hospital. The national security is important. And look, name another law enforcement agency. Does the FBI have those requirements? No. Does DA have those requirements? No. So I shouldn't have those requirements either. We have a national security responsibility. We're going to take these people off the street. If it's out of school, that's what we're going to do. Again, it takes a lot to get approval to go into school or a church, but if there's a national security threat, we're going.
what does it take? What is the standard, I guess, to go into an elementary school? Because what we had heard from immigration advocates is that this is going to provide a chilling effect to parents in the school drop-off line or something of that matter.
It shouldn't be a chilling effect unless your child's a terrorist or a public safety threat. If they are a public safety threat, national security threat, they should be chilled. They should be afraid because we're looking for them.
Well, if their parent is here and they're an undocumented immigrant, I think was more of the argument that they were making.
They're not off the table either. I mean, they're in the country illegally, they got a problem. I mean, it's not okay. Look, it's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I wouldn't feel comfortable if I'm in Switzerland illegally. So we're going to enforce laws in this country. So, you know, the schools and the churches and central location was a policy only for ICE. Only for immigration, right? But national security threats and public safety threats have no safe haven in this country, and we'll go where we got to go.
Have you gone into any schools or churches yet that you know of personally?
Not yet of this operation.
Mr. Tom Homan, thank you for coming and taking our questions tonight. We hope to have you back here on The Source soon, and we do appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.